I'd just like to introduce the business. We've been in operation since 2012. We're based in Somerset West in the Western Cape. We pride ourselves in offering a wide range of mosaics, about 450 different mosaics products that we do. Plus we introduce stone cladding panels. We do about 16 different stone cladding panels that are available to the market. And lately we've introduced some concrete basins. I just want to run through some of the products. Currently in our warehouse in Somerset West, we hold roughly 35,000 square meters of mosaics. So we have a reasonable stock holding of mosaics. The mosaics that we have range from your porcelains, your glass, stone and glass, to a variety of blends, including the latest, which is your recycled glass products. If I can just start quickly with the stone cladding. The stone cladding panels, we introduced 16 different models, 3 different models in a cement-backed cladding. They're pretty similar to what you would see with your stonemasons locally that would go into the mountain, get stones, chisel it and place it in the cement backing. We do the same. The only difference on ours is obviously the installation is incredibly fast. Ours is on a, I'll just take you through to it. Ours is on a cement backing. It has a steel mesh throughout the cement backing just for added strength. Produce it in a puzzle piece, not in a normal Z panel. The advantage of the puzzle piece is you don't have a horizontal line running through all of your cladding in the finished product. The actual finished product looks very much like a stonemason does. The backing of it is full cement with a textured finish for adhesion. The advantage of it is when you actually press that cladding into the wall, the adhesive will push out through the sides and essentially that pencils the cladding in. And for me, the look is absolutely fantastic. The advantage that you've got here is it's purely the installation time. I mean, for somebody to do a wall, it can take them weeks to do a wall, whereas for us to do the wall, it can take you a matter of hours. Another nice thing about these particular Terra range of claddings is we do a corner piece. The advantage of the corner piece is I can also give you the information to Nicole, but if the architects develop pillars, they can make pillars in certain sizes that are obviously plastered finishes, and to actually render that whole pillar in stone cladding will literally take minutes. So we do 3 different types of stone panels. The only thing to bear in mind when you're dealing with this type of panel is it's a much heavier stone, much thicker stone, generally used outside feature walls, waterfall features, garden walls, entrance walls. But when you do this type of cladding, you need to use a fast-set adhesive, purely because of the weight of the product. The weight of the product, as you stack it higher and higher and higher, obviously you're building weight on the product. So with a fast-set adhesive, it'll cure at the base, maybe do, for example, a square meter and a half, a meter and a half high, and then you can let it set for a while and then carry on. What we've introduced also lately is a huge range of epoxy glued panels. Now, the advantage of the epoxy glued panel, there's no adhesive on the back. So you get very good adhesion with your normal tile adhesives. It's not as thick a product. And the reason why we did this is purely because in the local market, you don't find many colors available in stones, whereas we can offer quite a wide variety of stones. All of these panels have a Z interlock, as you can see from the picture there. The advantage of the Z interlock, and what we try and do is we focus on factories that manufacture and produce a very, very good Z interlock. Because the last thing you need is these panels to interlock, and then you look at a wall of cladding only to find you can clearly see tiles. This Z interlock, I mean, I've done it in my lounge and dining room, the complete walls, you cannot see a join on them. So the cladding is exceptional in terms of how it's manufactured. You can see here, we've got the Pietra range, which is the thinner cladding. It's probably about 8 mils up to about 15 mils thick. Then we do the earth range with the cloud gray and the gobi sand, and then we do the larger panels, which are the 600 panels. The Penna slate is one of the cement back. we hold about 450 different types of mosaics, ranging from your pebbles to your marbles, your stone and glass, your porcelains. We do have a catalog which will be available, the new catalog, the 2023 catalog. That'll come out in the second week of December. So if you email me at the end, you'll get my email address, or email Nicole. We're very happy to send you an online version of it. Plus, we'll have printed versions available in January. If I can focus on a couple of the areas of the mosaics, we do recycled glass. Italtile holds quite a nice exclusive range of the recycled glass. The advantage of the recycled glass, if I take you to the next page, you'll see there it is a 98 to 99% recycled material. So it's a very much a green product. Basically, the glass products are all crushed into an incredibly fine powder. They're then mixed with a color like you would do with a paint. They're then pressed and then they baked. The advantage of it, you can press it in a multitude of different shapes, and the physical texture when you run your hands on it is phenomenal. If you put it on a shower floor under your feet, my advice is if you ever get a chance, pop into an Italtile, have a look at the recycled glass products. They are incredibly well, they do incredibly well, they're selling incredibly well. There's also quite a large range of inkjet finished products. I'll take you to that quickly just to give you an idea. You can see here on the left-hand side, it's a subway. It looks like your Carrara marbles, designed to look like marble, but it's actually glass. You also got some woods. You've got a multitude of options in the recycled glass. The one above you can see is a little mini hex on the left-hand side with a micro, which is a small circular penny round, and then a bubbles version on the right. We do porcelains. That's probably our largest growing product category at the moment, so purely because of its affordability and the fact that porcelains have developed over the last 10 years from 48 by 48s, 10 by 10s to a multitude of options, from lanterns to fans to the new latest Kit Kats. Here you can see fans, Kit Kats, large hexes, and some of the new fans. The new fans, the new lanterns are all arriving into stock in January, but that will be in the new catalog. Unglazed, very, very popular with the large residential developments. We do it currently only in a 48 by 48 and in a 100 by 100, but we are going to be bringing this in your herringbone, in your mini hex, in your large hex. Nice thing about it is obviously you've got quite a bit of texture on it, and it's a reasonably price pointed product, and we hold quite a decent stock holding for it. Glass. Glass, South African market is very different to the rest of the world. We focus predominantly on a 4 mm glass, purely because the cost is half that of the 8 mm, and our tilers seem able to tile 4 mm glass without any problems. Swimming pools at the moment, it is pretty much swimming pool season for our business. Everybody wants to do a pool. We're doing a substantial amount of it at the moment, and I think it's mainly because your fiber lining, your coloring, every now and then, 3 to 4 years down the line, you have to recolor your pool, whereas obviously if you tile it in a glass or in a porcelain, it'll be there forever. The only thing to bear in mind is when you're doing a swimming pool, you need to understand that the adhesive to use in the pool is either one of two things. Either, if you can afford it, your epoxy adhesive and your epoxy glue, that is the ideal. The second option is your Mosaic fix adhesive, but replacing the Mosaic fixes water with bonding liquid. The one thing we suggest never to do with a 4 mm glass is put in anything that increases the strength of the adhesive, like a key coat. That effectively changes the strength of the adhesive to like a porcelain adhesive, and what that does is when it cures, it puts too much pressure on the back of the glass and you can get cracking in the glass. So as long as we stick to epoxy adhesive or Mosaic adhesive with bonding liquid, you'll be perfectly fine on your pools. Marbles, what we're trying to do on the marble side is there's a huge increase in the cost of raw materials worldwide, and with the shipping prices going through the roof, Global Stone has been on a huge drive to try and find similar looking marbles, but at more affordable prices. So instead of using your Spanish emperadors, we've managed to find similar colors in Vietnam, and we're bringing more and more marble products into the market at, in my opinion, far more affordable prices. The Mosaic catalog, you'll see, has got quite a wide range of marble mosaics, and if you want a marble mosaic, pretty much the only place to go to is Italtile. They hold the biggest range of marble mosaics that we have. The last thing is something unusual for us. I mean, our holding company is Global Bathroom Sourcing, trading as Global Stone. Myself and my business partner have had a huge background in bathroom-related products, and on our trips overseas, we came across this factory. This factory produces concrete bases The nice thing about this concrete basin is we bring it in 4 different designs, and we're offering it in 4 different colors, the colors that you can see on the screen. What we're doing is we are not only giving you a basin, but inside the basin, because when we ship it, you essentially are shipping a whole. We are giving you a toilet brush holder, a lotion dispenser, and a tumbler holder in the basin free of charge, color matched, also manufactured out of concrete. The concrete basins, you can see from the edge, they are literally 12 mils thick. Now, I haven't seen a South African manufacturer able to produce the quality that we've seen here. You get literally no pinholes, if any pinholes. The odd pinhole you'll get is part of the product, and it's its natural product. But we're excited about it, and all the Italtiles have exclusivity on this range of basins. If you want a concrete basin, something different, hop into one of your Italtiles. Lastly, they asked us just to touch on the trends and where the market is going. Look, on all of our visits overseas, you often see where the Italians are moving, and everybody tends to follow where the Italians and the Spanish are moving. But the South African market tends to take a couple of years before they actually catch up to it. And the reason being is the retailers see the product, but often the customer sees the product in places like the Block in Australia, or they might see it in Pinterest and they'll come into a shop trying to see it. So what we've seen in Italy is that the market is moving towards these moody washed type colors, which you can see on the screen. The shapes are moving towards more of your curves. However, currently in the South African market, the most popular products without a doubt are your Kit Kats and your hexagonal shapes. Specifically, your matte blacks, your matte whites are still incredibly popular. I hope that gives you an insight into the mosaic industry and what we offer. Feel free to contact me on the email address below, and Nicole can give you it. And if you're looking for a catalog, whether it be a printed or e-version, we are more than happy to post you a printed version in January or email you an online version. But thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Sean, we just had one question from Colleen, and she's just asked if the cement backing require additional mechanical fixing, or is it adhesive sufficient?
No, on the cement cladding, you basically just need a fast set adhesive, and that is perfectly fine. You'll see a lot of the Italtile buildings. If you go to your Italtile, you'll find the cladding is cladded on the outside of that building already, and just your normal fast set adhesive is perfectly fine. What we suggest on the thinner claddings, and this is actually important, thanks for touching on this, Nicole, is the thinner claddings, you need to use an adhesive that is as close to the color of the cladding. So if you're using a white cladding, obviously don't go and use a gray adhesive, because the gray adhesive will push out through the sides and you'll get a very horrendous looking product. So with a white cladding, use a white adhesive. With a cream cladding, use a mosaic type adhesive. And with your grays and your blacks, use your normal gray tile adhesive. The only thing is, the important one is on the Terra range, because it is a heavy product, you can only use a fast set adhesive. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Sean. Yes, it
No
did.
problem.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for anyone? Okay, Sean, thank you so much. We have a couple of people that have already emailed me for the brochure, and then there's a few email addresses that I have received, so I'll just pop you an email regarding those guys.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. Melanie, when you're ready, you can come through.
Nicole, can you see my presentation?
I can, Mel, thank you.
Okay, can I start?
You can go ahead, thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Nicole introduced me at the beginning. My name is Melanie. I'm from a company called Chapters Interiors, and we do a number of things. We, as Nicole said, we train all of the Italtile staff on design and what it's like to have a design conversation with a customer so that they are better informed to be able to make correct design decisions. We do a lot of private training, starting in South Africa, and over the last 2 years, we've reached out to most countries around the world, and we do training in North America, Europe, and now Southeast Asia. And I always really enjoy being asked to attend these webinars because I view myself, sorry to the other presenters, as the fun part of the evening. So my brief was to have a look at 2023 trends, what's going to be happening generally in the design industry coming up in 2023. And I was really pleased to see in Sean's presentation that he spoke about the trends that they've seen overseas at the shows around moody colors, because that's where I actually start with my presentation. So, you know, colors are going really bold and moody in 2023. So everything from cabinetry to wallpaper to furnishings to tiles, as we saw on the Global Stone presentation. Dark colors have a reputation for making a space feel a little bit small, but when they're properly balanced out and used with appropriate lighting, and we're going to hear from our lighting expert shortly, they actually, the dark moody colors can provide warmth and depth and texture that light colors don't often offer you. And on the topic of colors, the other trend that's happening is saturated colors, and this is slightly different from dark moody colors. This is when a color is really 100% itself. It's beautiful and rich, and it comes out of the trend you may have remembered a couple of years ago. For a couple of years, the jewel tones have been very much on trend, and so these colors have stepped up in a really huge way, and I think we're going to continue seeing those, almost taking on the role of a neutral, as you can see in this space on the screen in front of you. So rich, saturated colors that make a statement, but allow other elements in the room to shine. And there's always a yearning for more decadent, collected types of spaces with sort of an emotional underlying connection. People are wanting to feel something emotional in their spaces, and that we're tending to trend towards these saturated colors like deep forest greens. You can see all the greens on the screen in front of you, the rusts, the rich reddish browns, amethysts, or those jewel toned blues that we saw a couple of years ago. And I'm going to touch on biophilic design much later in my presentation as one of the ongoing trends, but you're seeing that a lot of the saturated colors coming through are green, and this has actually been driven by biophilic design. Then, of course, we have our blue marble. So when I said that people are craving color, but they want that color, but they still want something that feels natural and organic. And in 2023, we're going to see a lot more blue marble, which keeps the space feeling quite light, quite fresh, quite natural. And you can see on the slides in front of you that either they large format slabs or large format tiles. It looks great in bathrooms, on kitchen countertops, around fireplaces, or any sort of space that you can do large format like that. And then following on from Global Stone, I'm sure they'll be very pleased to know they are on trend as well. So stone materials is my next one. So materials like marble, limestone, concrete, travertine, granite, these are all the basic building blocks of design inspiration. In 2023, I think we're going to be seeing a renewed appreciation for nature's most beautiful materials, including split-face travertine, marbles of lots of different colors. We're getting adventurous, like I've spoken about, your dark, rich greens, your browns, your burgundies, as well as we're going to be seeing a lot of dramatic veining, antique textures, terrazzo, and concrete finishes falls into this as well. So we're going to be seeing a lot more stone materials and stone surfaces in our spaces that we live, work, and play in. My next one made my heart very happy when I researched this trend, and the trend is bold tiles. And what has been happening over the last couple of years is that wallpaper has, because of the technology that wallpaper is advanced with, it's being used in a lot of spaces that normally we would have used tiles in. It's sort of edged into the market. And I'm very pleased to see now that the tile industry is responding to that and producing these bold patterns and bold tiles that can now replace the space that wallpaper took over. So we're replacing those as statement pieces in places like guest bathrooms, around fireplaces, backsplashes, bars, and also things like large spaces like this you can see here. And this is a very interesting tile because this is not South African produced, but they have chosen to choose a very iconic South African image, the protea. And as you can see, it's like a wallpaper, so it's got a very large pattern repeat on it, which allows us to use in a large expansive space. And if you have a look at the image on the right, it goes from floor all the way up to ceiling, this beautiful tile pattern that is now actually tiles and not wallpaper, which makes me very happy. Pattern, so pattern has been on trend pretty much year on year for quite a while. It just happens to change the way that it presents itself every time it comes back in trend. So pattern, it makes spaces feel lived in and inviting, while still providing a little bit of flexibility for accessorizing. For example, you can display a larger pattern as a focal point, for example, like a wallpaper, or the tiles that we saw on the last slide, they then play off by adding other layers to the space. So if I go back here, you can see in this one, there's a lot of colors for me to pick up on, patterns, shapes, and things that I can repeat off the tiles that have been used. So you can create patterns either with your tiles. You can create the patterns through the shape of the tiles, these large hexagons, as Sean was mentioned, they're very much on trend. And then I had to include this one. This is a pattern, excuse me, created by slices of marble. So they've actually used the marble itself and cut it into tile shapes and used that to create the actual pattern itself. This is something you will have seen a lot around. Fluted detailing. So fluted detailing is all over interior spaces at the moment. It's popping up on doors, on furniture, on walls, and it's everywhere, all the way down to bathroom vanities and a sort of bed nightstands. So from a distance, the fluted detail, it's that architectural or that 3D shape that you can see on the surface. It gives surfaces dimension, a little bit of texture and some interest. And up close and in person, the fluted detailing is quite tactile, making us want to touch it, giving the surface a different texture rather than just a smoother or plain finish. And one of the places that this fluted detail serves the best in is spaces like bathrooms that you can see on the right-hand side. And the reason for that is the technical requirements or the different layers of lighting required in bathroom spaces because of the multifunctional space really highlight the architectural 3D-ness of fluted detailing. So you're seeing it everywhere at the moment. So as again, Sean, thank you for introducing curves. So curves are huge at the moment on every surface, in every place, anywhere they can put a curve, you'll see them at the moment. So it's all about sculpture or sculptural looking furniture and design, whether it be rounded or angular sofas, tables and chairs, interesting shapes, or even down to sculptural decor or tiles. It's all about furniture that goes beyond function and starts veering almost towards artwork. So if you have a look at this picture here on the left-hand side, you can see that the display cabinet has got these beautiful arches in it. Speaking to the curve trend, you can see it here on the right-hand side in the shape of the furniture, as well as the window spaces. Here as a reception area, they've incorporated it into the architectural design of a reception area. Finishes, so walls are starting to get round edges to them. And of course, there you can see the fluted detail as well. And then, of course, bathrooms. So have a look here, how they've curved the edge of this bathroom. It gives it a little bit of a softer finish to it. So you're going to see curves in a lot of places coming up. Speaking of curves, home bars, and have a look at the beautiful curved space on this one. So in the last few years, we've been entertaining family and friends and sometimes our clients at home. And having a home bar is a really personal and fun way to enhance everybody's experience. So it can be easier setting up a cabinet or a shelf if you have the space, creating a freestand bar with a couple of stools. And it also doesn't have to be about alcohol. It can be about coffee, unique custom coffee bars as well in an office or a home space. And 2 trends ago, I spoke about fluting, and have a look at the bark of both bar counters and wall cladding in these images. Fluting is everywhere. Dark wood. Dark wood is back. So light wood has been trending for quite a long time, the very popular Scandinavian blonde woods. It's going to be refreshing to see some dark wood in 2023, especially because it feels quite nostalgic and it's got a sort of quite a classy feeling to it. When it's done well, it can create a commanding but a sort of refined kind of space. So don't be afraid to go dark, for example, with walnut on kitchen or bathroom cabinets, vanities, built-ins, or with your floor tiles. Consider dark rather than light for a change. Art Deco. This is one of my favorite interior styles to teach because it just goes on and on and on, and it keeps going in and out of fashion for eternity. So many elements of Art Deco style are coming back in, including a lot of colorful pastels. So we know that your bubblegum pinks and your lemon yellows and your mint greens and those sorts of things are part of Art Deco type styling. So we're seeing those. And we're continuing to see fun and elegant pops of color in spaces like bathrooms. You can see on the right-hand side there the Art Deco pink with the Art Deco starburst, in kitchen cabinets, in cladding on walls. And it's easier to add touches of Art Deco through accessories or surface finishes like wallpaper or like tiles if you're not really committed to the whole look. And if you remember the very first two trends I spoke about, which was dark, moody, saturated colors, you can see here in these two images, those two trends pairing with the Art Deco trend and producing these beautiful dark spaces. Earthy and textural spaces. This one shouldn't be a surprise. It's been on our horizon for a very long time. It's a return to elegant yet relaxed textural spaces in warm and muted colors. And I think this move towards natural and earthy spaces reflects our desire to live authentically and comfortably and really be intentional about what matters most in our lives. Simplicity, timelessness, connection, beauty. And it's much more an understated aesthetic combined with very good quality materials, textiles, and craftsmanship. So you're seeing a lot of this coming out in office spaces, homes, entertainment spaces, and linked to this trend as well as our biophilic design. You can see it coming through here with our greenery and our natural patterns. And I'm going to talk about biophilic design, as I said, but have a look at this image here on the right-hand side. So it's this earthy and textural trend, and have a look what's happening on the table. There is our fluted design detail at the bottom there. So the two trends are lapping over each other. Black and white design is back in a big way. So bold and character-rich black and white design trends are in our very near future in 2023. For example, things like black marble fireplaces with white veining, black interior doors, either high gloss or matte, with white trim, white walls complemented with beautiful, rich, dark furniture and black and white wallpaper and rugs. This is all in our very near future. If you have a look there on your left-hand side with the kitchen, there's a couple of trends going on there. So there's your black and white trend that we've just spoken about, and also your natural stone happening there as well that I spoke about earlier. Traditional design. So what was once uncool in your granny's house is now cool once again. So the world is in need of comfort and nostalgia, and traditional design brings to mind coziness and inviting spaces, and somewhere where you can just shed the weight of what's going on in the world. So in 2023, we're going to be incorporating traditional design elements sparingly, but updating in something that might be a little bit more contemporary. So for example, here on this right-hand side image, this is a very traditional camelback chair. It's got a very traditional shape to it, but it's been updated in a much more modern or contemporary fabric. And then, of course, in a more tiled space on your left-hand side there, you can see the black and white trend that I've just spoken about coming through, as well as the traditional design. So the two trends are happening there together. Colourful and unique kitchens. This one I was quite surprised by, but very pleased to see that people are starting to create spaces, so own spaces and create spaces that reflect their personality. So there's going to be a shift away from your very clinical white kitchens and towards more colorful and unique styles. So there's multitude of ways to do this that don't need to break the bank. It can be you paint it's very easy to paint kitchen cabinetry. You could do change out your lighting to incorporate something fun and unusual. I could change my backsplash, for example, the pink hexagons at the back. But we're starting to see a lot of personality come through in our kitchen spaces. Then handcrafted sourcing. So this trend has been around for quite a long time and has taken various different forms over the years, and it's really starting to become entrenched as part of a design. And a lot of it was created by COVID and the lack of production, issues with shipping, as Sean mentioned, all the challenges that the global market has faced. So we're seeing this increased interest in handmade or local furnishings, accessories and finishes like a tile, for example. And more people are looking for ways to support makers or manufacturers in their own communities. And it came as a result of lack of access, but also to support the people who were most hard hit by the pandemic. So there's going to be a greater interest in filling our spaces with unique items that don't look, they might be mass produced, but they don't look mass produced. So whether we're sourcing a handmade tile for a bathroom renovation, commissioning a custom-made live edge meeting room table constructed from local and sustainable wood, for example, or incorporating artwork made by a local student. And I've gathered these images of handcrafted tiles for you for a very specific reason. If you have a look, there's something specific that's going on in all of them. They all come from a very specific side of the color wheel. So they all come from the blues and greens of nature. And most of them replicate a biophilic pattern. So they're showing a pattern of nature. And this is the power of the last trend that I'm going to talk to you about tonight, which is biophilic design. It is everywhere. So we've learned the hard way over the last few years to really appreciate the outdoors and its benefits to us as human beings. So bringing outdoor elements indoors started in commercial spaces when companies started incorporating living walls and rooftop gardens and all those sorts of things. And as we spent more and more times in our homes, sort of from around about early 2020, we saw that this trend evolved into more of our living spaces and our playing spaces, and is going to continue to do so in 2023. So we're seeing a lot more organic materials like plant life, woven grasses, natural patterns, earthenware, the stones that Global Stone spoke about. Those are all going to appear in our interior spaces. And what we're doing is we're recognizing our innate connection to nature, to fresh air, to living things, because it's healthier for us as physiologically as well as psychologically. So biophilic design is a very interesting case study about a trend that has actually become a way of life and has grown into an interior style of its own. It's a very interesting category in interior design. And then I could talk all night about trends. Nicole knows this, but that is pretty much all I've got time for. I wanted to touch on a couple of others that I didn't have time to include for you. So other trends to watch out for are wellness design, and this is also linked to biophilic design and the benefits of nature. Multifunctional floor plans. So there's a big debate around open floor plans are out, closed floor plans are back in. It's not such a cut and dried situation. We're now looking at more multifunctional spaces where we can move walls and move rooms. Minimalism is in, and at the same time, it's twin sister maximalism is in. And it's a really good example of how two trends can live in the same space at the same time. Dark academia, this one makes me very happy. It's sort of the intellectual man cave with dark leather, deep button couches and dark colors and books. And that's a very big trend on our radar for the coming year. Boho style is coming back in. Checkerboard patterns went out of fashion quite a long time ago. It's coming back in. And then vintage and antique is starting to gain popularity as well. So that is me for the evening. If anybody would like any further information about the type of training that we offer or about the trends research that we do, you can get my email address from Nicole, or there is my website address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melanie. I actually just have a question for you. Obviously, us just coming back from Italy, you know, we saw a number of colors and patterns and prints and all of that. And South Africa tends to be a bit lagged behind on trends that come through internationally. Do you know what the time frame is? So if we see anything international, what is the time frame that we would eventually have this in South Africa?
So historically, when South Africa was still sorting itself out and not as technologically advanced as we are now, it used to take about 18 months for stuff to come from the runways or come from the international shows, because there's a very distinct link between fashion and interiors. So what we used to see is probably 18 months to 2 years for trends in international shows to reach us. It's a lot shorter now. Usually it's quite a lot shorter, but now with shipping issues globally, our time might be a little off. So you'll probably see it within 6 to 8 months, and you'll see a lot of stuff happening in fashion before you see it in an interior space. So for example, pattern or dark moody colors, you will already be seeing in fashion, because fashion leads and interiors follow. But from an interiors point of view, I'd probably say 6 to 8 months.
Okay, thank you. And then just talking about those prints, sorry, and I know you and I can chat all day, but when that delicious monster green print came through and we done our whole biophilic training, I mean, those prints were on absolutely everything, on pillows, on curtains, on throws.
Exactly.
So do you foresee these same colors, these blues and greens and pinks coming through solidly across the interiors?
Absolutely. So you saw, if you remember the last slide in Sean's presentation, he spoke about the blues and the greens. And in my presentation, there's a lot of blues and greens. And it's not because blues and greens happens to be my favorite color. It's because that is what's popular at the moment. And it's being driven by a lot of sustainability. The colors work with sustainability. They speak fresh, they speak natural. And a lot of it is driven by biophilic design and the need to connect with what is around us. So blues, greens, plant prints, that beautiful protea tile that we just saw, you're going to still be seeing a lot of that.
Okay, one more question, I promise.
Okay, go.
So I know that we've now moved into the earthy tones and away from shiny and glitz and glam and bling. Do you foresee that coming in? I know from COVID we moved away from there based on screens and cell phones and stepping into the natural side, but do you foresee the silvers and the metals all coming through again anytime soon?
So there's always a place for everything in the market. Nothing ever really disappears or goes away. And interestingly, the shiny things that we like magpies, so the shiny taps or the shiny tiles, those are actually part of biophilic design as well. And it comes from our caveman days, where a shimmer on the horizon meant it is possibly water or moving water. And so we are attracted to shiny things for that it's biologically programmed into our DNA to be attracted to something shiny, for example, because it was a life source in the very olden days. So there will always be a place for those, and it's about finding the way for them to work with the more matte or the more natural elements that we've got now. So you might find that certain types of metals, so your warmer metals might be more popular at the moment for your, because they pair quite well with your natural looks. But also metals have seasons. So you'll have a season of warm metals are in fashion, and then they'll go out of fashion, and then we go back to sort of the much cooler metals, and then the warm metals come back in fashion. So there is always a place for the shiny and the bling. It's just about making it work and balance with what the psychological need is for human beings in their living, working, and playing spaces at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Melanie. There is a question from Adele, which I think I can answer. You've asked, are there more tile print varieties? So we've just come from Chisar, which is an international show, and there was about 40% of everything there was tile prints. So just floral prints, different colors. We're actually bringing a range in February with a range of, it almost looks like wallpaper. So you'll start seeing a lot of that in South Africa. And I think in the new year, we will offer a lot more ranges, and we can send that information through to you guys as you receive the Italian products. And then from Louise, where can we get the flute cladding? Melanie, on the wood side, I'm not sure if you have an answer, but with the normal Kit Kats, Italtile does stock that. We can send you some information. But Melanie, on the wood cladding, have you got some feedback there?
I must be honest, I don't at the moment. It's more coming through. So when it comes to cladding, there are companies in South Africa who manufacture it. And when it comes to furniture manufacturing, it's part of that process. So at the moment, it wouldn't be sort of a large format tile, for example, that you would be able to do, but I'm pretty sure that's on Italtile's radar for the future. But right now, if you were doing a wall cladding or furniture cladding, there are suppliers that do it in the market, and I can send you some details.
Thank you. So, okay, Melanie, sorry, I just wanted to find out your view on terracotta, because we saw quite a bit of that come through as well. Not so much in South Africa, but overseas. Do you think terracotta will be coming through?
So when I do the training with the Italtile guys, I always ask them how often do they get asked for a terracotta tile in their showrooms, and without fail, on every course, at least 50% of the students say to me they often get the query for terracotta. So terracotta, one of the big trends at the moment around colors is for the more earthy colors to be considered neutrals. So for example, your blushes and your very light terracotta and your sandstone and those sorts of things. And why that trend works so well in South Africa is because we have access. So our external environment has so many of those colors. We've got rich reds and terracottas and stones and gray rocks. And so we are very used to our neutrals having a little bit more of a warmer color in them, because we come from that kind of environment. It's not like Sweden, where it's sort of gray and white all the time. So we're very used to having those kind of colors. And terracotta is part of that more sort of neutral inspiration that we're taking from the outdoors. I also believe that South Africans are sentimental about terracotta, and it really speaks of homeliness, of countryness, of connection, of warmth, and all those things that as South Africans, we represent and we crave and we try and create in our spaces. So I'm a firm believer that terracotta is going nowhere.
Thank you. That is the last, I promise.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Lloyd and Joey, you're up if you guys want to put your presentation up.
But Nicole, let us know when you can see it.
There we go. We can see it. You can start. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Camera on. So good afternoon to everyone. we're joining you from Ulight in Bryanston, from a chandelier room. So if you look behind us, you'll see a chandelier. I can promise you, if you see sweat coming from our foreheads, it's because of the heat that's been produced, and the room is not air conditioned. So please forgive us if we do we do struggle through the presentation. I'm Lloyd. I'm the MD of Ulight. Sitting next to me is Joey.
Hello.
Joey is the person that runs our Bryanston, our flagship store, and then also looks after all the designers and architects and similar professionals that require advice around lighting. Just by way of introduction, Ulight is the youngest of the retail brands within the Italtile group. The business started about 4 years ago, so we are the newest. But certainly, I think we're at the cutting edge of fashion and design within the country, in terms of the trends that we see coming from, you know, the likes of Italtile and some of our other sister companies like Easy Life Kitchens. So we were invited today to share some of the things that we're seeing, and some of the things that we've seen in the past that we expect to continue going into the future, and then some of the new trends that are coming up. I think to do it justice, however, we make use of a really good lighting designer that we watch her videos and really value her opinion. So we're going to start off with a short video. It's about 10 minutes long, but she highlights the importance of lighting in design. And what we found is that lighting has really moved from a functional element within design to a fashionable element within design. So that move from function to fashion has been a major shift within lighting, and we see that shift actually becoming more and more pronounced. So we're going to play the video, and then we'll go into our presentation after that. Nicole. We're going to skip the video because obviously it's buffering quite a lot.
No problem. You can carry on with the presentation. Thanks, Lloyd.
Great.
All right. So, you know, what we were trying to establish and get through is obviously how to light. We have different trends coming up, and the biggest trend at the moment is the layering of light. When you have a space that you need to layer, we've got an example here of a kitchen where you've got so many different lighting aspects in it. So it's the adoption of layering the lighting in that space, so it looks natural, but it's functional as well as aesthetically pleasing. All right. The ambience that it actually gives, the feature and the tasks are all there. So you have LED strips, you have decorative lighting, you have downlighters, and so forth and so forth. The use of color temperature in this trend is extremely important, and I think Mal touched on it previous, you know, the color temperature, it actually plays with your circadian rhythm and how you feel in that space. It complements the design on specific colors. And then obviously the dress up part of it, which is the filament lamps. The LED filament lamps is still a big trend in most decorative products. So it lends itself to either or of the functionality, the ambience, and getting the actual lighting through, which creates that mood in that environment. And I think that's extremely important. So the layering of the lighting, where we're going at this stage.
So in addition to that, you know, and this is sort of obvious, but there's been a decisive move into LED technology. And I'm going to say South Africans, what we have found is South Africans have been very nervous of the technology for whatever reason. But what we're finding is far more often people are accepting that it is the only way. Obviously, in terms of incandescent bulbs, you can't get them anymore. So so people are being forced into LEDs. But we're finding that it's far more widely used. Obviously, we know that it's far more effective, and and one of the key things is that it lasts longer. You know, I can think just 10 years ago when you bought a LED bulb, it was a bit of a hit and miss. You know, the factories certainly have got it right. We're finding that bulbs are, you know, out of the box are far more reliable, and they certainly are lasting the number of hours that that they claim to last. So we're finding bulbs lasting 15 to 25,000 hours most of the time. We know about the environmental impact of LED. One of the key things that we find in light fittings, in particular feature fittings, where we have LED integrated into it, is people are very scared of buying a fitting and then that LED failing. So what a lot of people don't realize is that often it's not actually the LED strip, but it's the driver that sits behind those strips that fails if there is a failure. And we find that these failures happen predominantly because of the spikes with load shedding. But you know, the good news is there are replacement components for this. So what we're finding is the minute we're able to tell the customer that there is a replacement component for this, and it's going to cost, you know, a couple of $100, they're far more willing to buy a feature light. Again, we're finding that the lighting, you can play with colors. You know, it's not the cool white, warm white, and daylight limitations anymore. There's certainly more and more products out there that allow you to play with lighting in the different colors of, you know, of the rainbow in terms of lighting, which is fantastic. And then, as Joey mentioned, we're finding a massive trend in filament bulbs. And filament bulbs, obviously, the LED technology has retrofitted itself into filament bulbs. So you're now able to find a filament bulb that's running at 4 watts, and it looks old, you know, it looks Art Deco, but it really is using very little power. So we're finding a massive move into that. And in fact, we've grown our product range by probably 400-500% in the last year, you know, chasing that fashion. The third trend we're seeing is, you know, as was mentioned in the video and Joey mentioned, that the 3 layers of lighting. So the feature light has become a very important element, and most homes are looking for a statement piece. So we're seeing a lot of use of pendants, particularly above center islands and eating areas like dining room tables. And often people are buying relatively, safe feature statement piece, but dressing it up with filament bulbs and dressing it up with different types of filament bulbs. So uniformity is not something which everybody is chasing. If you look at the image on the right, you'll see that there's a cluster of a bespoke design that we actually came up with, where we took different types of pendants and put it onto a single base. And that's something that we can do for customers. So we are seeing a lot of clustering. We're seeing, in terms of trends, linear is a very important trend, and you can see that sort of in the middle two fittings. There is definitely an industrial sort of feel in a lot of the pieces, but Art Deco coming through very, very strongly as well.
Yeah, and I think, Lloyd, just to touch on that linear, I'll also touch on the slatting. We call it slatting, but it's actually, that where you use in the wood, and we can do linears into those. So people use that often in their houses, in the environments that they're doing, and obviously the clustering as well. Going back to that lends to the Art Deco side of it. So you can mix and match whatever you need to mix and match, and it is quite flexible.
All right. Nicole, can you confirm what slide you can see at the moment?
Lloyd, we're on slide 5 that we can see.
We're just struggling. Okay, slide 5, LED strips.
Statement pieces.
Okay.
While you're waiting on that side, for your side to flip to the next one, Aaliyah has asked about both warm and white light being used in the same space, and if this is a new trend.
So no, definitely I can answer that one. So it's pretty much called, a lot of people call it color temperature change. It's called a CTC. Some people know it as, so the warm, the natural color and the cool white color is used in the same way. So it's pretty much an LED item, which it's available in various items, either a decorative piece or a linear fitting, or perhaps just a bulb on its own, where you can actually do that interchange yourself. So you would be able to design or use that into a space, and just by flicking either the switch, or you can get it on automation, you can change the color of the fitting without literally changing the fitting. It's just the bulb that will change, or the color of the light that will change. So a lot of that is definitely trending at the moment, and using those two colors together actually brings out a lot of physical color in the room. So if you have a lot of reds and greens and blues, those colors will start popping. So in a retail environment where you use a warm white, but you still want that natural color of natural white in, you can mix and match those two. So a lot of the retailers are also doing that as well.
I could just add from my side there, Joey. I know in our retail stores, we have the warm lights in the customer spaces, and then the white light that pushes more towards or focuses more on our products. How would you guys measure what is the right light to use, or what, how do you measure the lux to make sure that the lighting is correct for the certain space?
So most of the time, the lux levels get reproduced by the lumen output of the actual light. So if you put it in layman's terms, it's the amount of light that actually reaches the surface. That is when you measure the lux levels for the space that you need. But when you talk in color and for different environments, you need to look at the emotion side of things, and that moody side, and how does it actually make a client feel into that environment. So you would then introduce a warmer color, because it makes you feel a bit more inviting to that space. You wouldn't want a very, very white light into a space where you're trying to show off colors in an environment, or you want to actually get them into an inviting space, where you would use then a very whiter light in an environment where you want productivity. So a lot of people, you will use that in offices and perhaps maybe hospitals, and things like that, where you want that light literally just as functional light in it, not really to bring anybody's mood out or an invitation in there. So the actual color of lighting doesn't generally affect the lux levels that you would get. It's more just changing the colors. It's more for your circadian rhythm. It's more for the invitation of what you're trying to either present or showcase or actually experience in that environment. So there's not a massive shift of lighting difference between a warm white color, a natural white color, and a daylight color. It's quite marginal.
Thank you.
Right, Nicole, I hope we're back on track. Can you see trend 4?
Yes, LED strips.
Fantastic. So this is a trend that really, we've started seeing in the last, sort of year, 2 years. I guess it has been there for some time, but there's a decisive move and a greater move into the use of LED. And this is, originally it sort of started more in the commercial spaces, but it's definitely putting through to the residential spaces. And what we're finding, particularly in kitchens, is that people are using channels and diffusers to diffuse the LED strips. I think we all remember the days where you had, if you look on the left-hand side picture, you had the very dotty LED look. And what a diffuser is able to do is to diffuse that light and to make it look more solid and more consistent. So we're seeing a great use of diffusers. It also just helps keep the LED in place, because we know historically that that it does tend to detach itself over time. And then the nice thing with the diffuser is you can get the different colors. So you can also start playing with different colors and how much light gets let through. So we're seeing a very decisive move into LED. The great part about LED is obviously you have the ability to render different colors on certain options. And so you're able to create a warm white or a cool white, or anything in between, depending on the mood and depending on the task that that's at hand. So again, very much used in kitchens, used on staircases. We're finding very often used on staircases. The balustrades becoming more and more popular, and then particularly around pools and the coping around pools. We're finding that many clients are asking for LEDs around pools, and again, it presents a far better sort of look and feel than the traditional single pool light. So one of the other things that we're finding is that the manufacturers have done a really good job, and they're now able to produce a consistent LED look. So you don't have the dotted effect, but it's a solid strip of light, and that's what we call a COB, or a chip on board. But it's a solid strip of light, and they're doing it at a very cost-effective price. The image on the right, by the way, is what we call a Neon Flex, and that's a flexible LED. So obviously we know the issue with LED historically is that it's very difficult to turn and bend in left and right and up and down. So Neon Flex is often used for signage, but more often than not, we're finding it used in residential spaces to match the curves that were spoken about by Mel, when it comes to bars and similar.
Yeah, so here we move on to a different trend where it's a commercial crossover in an household environment, or a residential environment, or an office environment. So we have these trends of people wanting to use track lighting. So you have a magnetic track system, or just a normal linear track system that you can put into your kitchen, or you can put into your living space, or whatever the case might be, where you're actually now starting to cross over on those two different platforms. And it's really, really great, because it gives you that retro, that really, that type of style and the functionality of the lighting, but you're still getting that decorative feel, where you can actually have that lighting there, but actually focus more on the product that you have in the space, i.e. being this one here is a kitchen, where you still got that beautiful modern design, but you've just got functional lighting there. And we find a lot of people are going that route as well, where going back to the LEDs, you still have high output LEDs where you can produce that functional lighting, but still have a decorative ambient feel to it. So it's a very, very important trend at the moment that we're feeling that a lot of people are mixing and matching and crossing over to create both that that functionality and style as well. So it's very, very versatile, and it gives you that strong, elegant look on whatever you're trying to showcase in that space.
All right, guys, that's our sort of the 5 trends that we've picked up, and I think it talks, you know, to the previous presentations, you know, as well. There's a lot of similarities. Just in closing, sort of wanted to chat about what we were able to help the audience with. We have 8 retail stores around the country. We are able to consult with yourself as a professional and obviously with your client, and you're welcome to bring them to our showrooms, and we're able to host you. We have decent coffee in most of our showrooms, so you're also welcome to have a cappuccino with us. In terms of the areas that Ulight plays in, we very heavily focused in residential. That's where the business was born. But we have a decent commercial business. We have done a number of large projects. We've done nearly 200 retail stores where we've completely changed the lighting, and we're also able to provide industrial solutions. So we've typically dealt with warehouses and showrooms, etc. We were able to help with lighting designs, articulations, commissioning of lighting projects. So you can hear it's really from whether it's one lamp or a 5,000 square meter warehouse, we're really able to serve all your needs. We've got in excess of 20,000 products available to us, and very importantly, we also have a manufacture and import division that imports lighting from various places, predominantly China, but we also do produce locally as well. So we're able to take people's needs and really produce something that that they're looking at, that they're after. Just for our professionals, we do have a volume-based rebate model. So if there are any referrals, we're able to share in the happiness. Because it's becoming so important, we are, and Italtile Group is a level 2 contributor, and as we've mentioned, we are part of the Italtile Group. If anybody is interested, our Ulight website is on screen at the moment, and Joey, who spoke earlier, his cell phone number is up, and my cell phone number is also up. And if there are any queries in terms of specific projects, please contact Joey. If there are any sort of more general queries or large commercial projects that you'd like our advice on or help on, you're more than welcome to contact myself. Do you have any questions?
There was a question that came through, which Kathleen also assisted, but we can get your point of view on it. It's about special waterproofing LEDs for outside pools and bathrooms.
Yeah, so that's, I think, where Lloyd had touched on a bit earlier. We use either the normal COB, which is the normal strip tape light that you would refer it to, or you could use a Neon Flex Pro version, which is then RP rated and for outdoor use. And literally some of the product can actually be submerged as well. So when you talk in ponds and pools and that type of area, we definitely have those type of products, and we can help you with that.
Thank you. And also, Joey and Lloyd, if any of the guys want to get hold of you, you can also reach through me. I'll gladly share the presentation as well as contact details. Ulight does form part of the Italtile Group, so our sister company. So looking forward to see you guys grow even more. I mean, drastically over the past 3-4 years, it's been amazing to watch you grow. So thank you both for your time and your presentation. And then to our guests, thank you. As mentioned before, your CPD certificates will be sent through over the next 5 days. Any other queries or concerns or any information you need, you're more than welcome to come through me, email me, and we'll manage that for you. So from our side, thank you so much. And then our next webinar will be in February next year. So we'll put we'll put some great content together for you, and we'll keep in contact with the rest of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.